Hi everybody! This year's training with OTA Elite Vertical Academy is in the books. This means it's time for the final update of the series, and I'll take you through the training and peak phase, and most important, the results. Finally, 16 weeks of training are done. For the second time I performed the OTA Elite Vertical Academy to improve my vertical jump and overall athleticism. All of this started back in January. Over the course of the past 16 weeks there have been good times and challenging times, but after all I just completed the program and got some results for you. Before we start to talk about peak phase, let's rewind a bit. More than a year ago I hit a kind of a plateau in terms of athleticism. I've been working out for some time and my strength was still improving, but at some point this would no longer translate to the court. I was struggling to dunk a basketball on a 10-foot hoop, and on a good day I could only do one-hand rim grazers. I was trying different things in my training, but nothing would improve my vertical jump significantly. It was time to work more specific, and after I watched a lot of content on YouTube, I finally got the Elite Vertical Academy program from Overtime Athletes. At the start of last year I tried the program and got tremendous results. 5 weeks into the program, after the first deload, I remember a dunk session where I hit my first two-handers, alley-oops and threw down more powerful dunks overall. I continued the program and at the end my vertical increased around 7 to 8 inches. Now a year later I felt that I could get even more out of the program, so I decided to repeat it. Once again I set some goals before the start. Most importantly to improve my vertical jump by another 2 inches, but also improving on every exercise in the program and hitting new PRs in strength exercises. Additionally I wanted to improve my technique and put an emphasis on recovery. And this is how the training started in the beginning of this year. And if you're interested how things were going so far, check out my previous videos about the first 3 phases of the program. I put them into a playlist and you can find the link down below in the description. While the first 3 training blocks always had a particular focus on isometrics, eccentrics and concentrics, now in peak phase we start to put all the pieces together. This kind of training is definitely the most fun for me and feels kind of rewarding for all the work I put in before. You can just go all out in your workouts and try to finish the program strong. In peak phase, every workout starts with some sort of lower limb preparation, and then you get to perform a series of resisted and assisted plyos, as well as some more advanced plyometrics, or true plyometrics, how the guys at OTA used to call them. These are some new and more reactive plyometric exercises like rebound jumps or reactive tuck jumps off one leg or 2 legs, especially the unilateral variation of this exercise is really challenging. The program also starts to include approach jumps and max vertical jumps at this point. It's all about putting all the modalities from the previous training blocks together and maximizing equability. With strength exercises you will work close to your 1 rep max and ultimately try to improve your personal best. On the other hand, the volume of auxiliaries is reduced, so you really focus on heavy lifts. In peak phase you also start to include complex training, which is a method of training where a strength exercise is followed by a plyometric movement. As an example, you perform a back squat and then a box jump or a vertical jump afterwards. Or on upper body day this would be a heavy bench press, followed by some explosive push-ups with band assistance. Another modification for compound exercises is starting with lower weights on the first few sets, where you try to move the weight as quickly as possible, and then this is followed by some heavy sets, where you really load the bar and work close to your maximum. You still try to move the weight as quick as possible, but of course this becomes more difficult with the increased weight. What I like about peak phase, you really get a good indication of how your performance has improved. Plyometrics become more dynamic, with strength exercises you add some weight and try to set some new PRs. Along with squats and deadlifts, one of my personal favorites is a workout where you perform some sets of max pull-ups, and I was really happy to beat last year's results already in the first week. Improving on every exercise in every workout was one of my goals and probably the most ambitious. Actually, it sounds a lot easier than it is, and sometimes during the training I felt like I might fail on this one. My initial thought was, as I get stronger I should be able to add some weight on every exercise. Of course, a lot of the exercises in the program are not about the weight, but for these plyometric or bodyweight exercises with the experience from the last time, my goal was to improve on technique, execution, or time for isometrics. But that's easier said than done, as I found out right at the start of the program. In the first weeks with isometrics I tried to hold the position just a few seconds longer than last time, and let's put it like this, that's a good way when you try to get to know your limits. Also with strength exercises, most of the time it was quite possible to improve and add some weight, but during the 16 weeks there are also some days where you don't feel so good, you're exhausted, in my case, sometimes I was still banged up from playing basketball, and on these days it really takes a lot of effort to add some weight and still perform your reps. However, I could add some weight or improve in every workout, and then in the final week of peak phase I set a PR for band-resisted bench press and pull-ups on the first day, a huge PR for band-resisted squat on the second day. Things were looking great, but then it was the third day where I was aiming for a bench press PR, and I just couldn't get the weight up. And I was like, oh damn, this goal is gonna fail right at the finish line. But then fortunately on another attempt and after lots of pre-workout, I just barely beat my PR. So I would have liked to see a bigger improvement on my bench press, but it was still a PR nevertheless. And with overall strength, I'm very happy with the improvement. What stood out for me was the back squat, where I did not only set a PR, but also added weight consistently throughout the program. I could add around 10 kg or 22 pounds virtually every time compared to last year. And 10 kg in a year doesn't sound like much, but after the program last year I was rather doing in-season training and played a lot of my sports, so I didn't focus on strength numbers that much after the first run of Elite Vertical Academy. Also with upper body exercises I got a little bit stronger, even though they are not the main focus in this program. But if you want to improve your athleticism, it's important to train the entire body and also add some upper body strength. But now, the most important thing, did all of this help to increase my vertical? And the answer is, yes it did. My goal was to increase my vertical by 2 inches. And after I felt that I made some progress during the program, when I finally made some in-game dunks, the first real test came on the last day of training when I tried some hurdle jumps. Those were standing hurdle jumps and rebound jumps. And in both of these I increased my jump height by 7 centimeters. That's almost 3 inches compared to the last time. Now you have to keep in mind that hurdle jumps are not a 100% accurate measurement to determine your vertical. There's a lot of timing and technique involved, but still a very good indicator that my vertical has increased. Before the real testing day, my plan was to get some rest, but I just couldn't resist playing some basketball and beach volleyball, so I spent as much as possible on recovery after that. Somehow I got my knees ready, more or less, to test out my max vertical, and my goal was to beat my previous result of 42 inches, which is the red line on the scale just below the square, and I wanted to reach 44-inch vertical. Now I didn't quite make it. My best jump was higher than last year as I hit a 43-inch vertical, which is a very good result in itself. Nevertheless, I felt like I could have even jumped a little higher when I tested, but I just couldn't figure out the perfect approach and distance to the backboard that day. Sometimes I jumped forward instead of straight up. On other attempts I jumped too far and couldn't extend my arm completely. That's when I realized it makes sense not just to practice your abilities, but also practice testing. However, when you compare my best jump to last year, it was a little higher. The camera angle right here is slightly different, but you can take the square as a good reference to see the improvement. I also calculated flight time to eliminate the factor of reaching with my arm, and it really depends on a single frame if that's a 1 inch or 2 inch improvement compared to last year. So it was very close. However, what stood out to me even more was that my average level improved so much. I hit 7 or 8 jumps of 42 inch in that session, and last year the 42 inch vertical was the one perfect attempt, and now this has become the new benchmark. And I think improving your basic level is so important with athletic performance. It's not as easy to measure as a single best attempt, but already during the program I felt that the basic level had improved, and the tests confirmed this. So in the end, my personal best jumps increased by almost 3 inches on hurdle jumps, by at least 1 inch on an approach jump, so I didn't reach the goal of beating my previous PR by 2 inches 100%, but I keep working on that. Still, what I consider a great success is the improvement on my average level. Something else I wanted to work on was my jump technique. And the training itself helps to a certain extent, especially when it comes to engaging your hips and glutes in a dynamic movement. On the other hand, there are some more aspects like timing, arm swing, and the penultimate step that need a lot of repetition. So I included things like walkthroughs in my daily routines to work on the timing, and I think it helped when I compare my jumps to last year. My technique still has a lot of room for improvement. I think I have to work a lot on my block foot and penultimate step to really transfer the horizontal force into vertical force. But I think it's getting better and I keep working on it. And my last goal when I started the program was to improve my recovery. When it comes to nutrition and sleep, this went pretty good this time. Somehow I still struggled a bit to find the perfect balance of training and playing sports. I just love playing basketball and volleyball, and sometimes this was a bit too much. At times I experienced some soreness and knee pain even though I switched my schedule a bit to get more rest days during the program. Especially the knee pain usually got better during or after the Elite Vertical Academy workouts and went away almost completely when I had some days off and did some rehab exercises like isometrics. So I wouldn't recommend playing other sports during the Elite Vertical Academy necessarily, but I just couldn't resist. So after the program is finished, you may be wondering what's next for me. Most importantly, I have to clean my car. That's a mess after all that outdoor training, but I guess that's not really interesting for you. So right now, most importantly, I want to play my sports and see if I can improve my level with the increased athleticism. When it comes to working out, I'm gonna switch to an in-season program. The Elite Vertical Academy also offers an in-season program additionally. I'm not 100% sure if that fits perfectly for me, but I'll take some exercises out of the program for sure. With in-season training, what you're trying to do is to maintain the current level and even increase it if possible. Improvement will become harder and almost impossible at a certain level, but at least maintaining the current level should be the goal of every in-season training. The in-season training will have way lower volume, so in my case this is gonna be 2 or 3 days of training per week with either full body training or upper lower body split. At the end of this video I want to share some final thoughts about the program. In my opinion, it's a fantastic program that helped me a lot in the past 2 years. Coach Chris and the guys from OTA put a lot of research and experience from real life coaching into this program and it shows. It's not easy though, at least for me, so especially as an online athlete you really have to be committed and clear about your goals. But if you have goals related to athleticism, not just vertical jump, you get a very well structured program with a lot of helpful background information. You're really guided through the process, and with the videos in the program you feel like Coach Chris is really talking to you personally. The workouts in the first 2 training blocks may not be the most fun, but it's important to build a solid foundation first before you start the more complex stuff. So it's not easy but definitely worth it, and the process throughout the entire program really keeps you motivated. And I would be interested to know if you have ever done the EVA or a similar program, so if you like, feel free to share your own experience in the comments. Also, if you got any questions or feedback, just drop them down below and I'll try to answer all of them. The EVA is done. I'm looking forward to playing my sport right now. Thanks to everyone who supported me on this journey. I really appreciate all of your messages. And that's it. So have a good day everybody and see you in the next videos.